On the debate tonight, India's fastest woman and now India's first openly gay sportsperson. Dutee Chand, who won 2 silver medals at the Asian Games 2018, says that she has found her soulmate, a girl from her own village in Odisha. She was forced to come out to her family because her sister, who was aware of Dutee's relationship, started blackmailing her for money.
मेरी फैमिली को सबको पता था पहले, लेकिन मेरी दीदी हमेशा मुझे मेंटल टॉर्चर दे रही थी, तो इसलिए मैंने हमेशा नर्वस थी बड़ी कि अंदर में मैं तो कैसे इसको फेस करूं। लेकिन जब बाद में ज़्यादा बोलने लगा मेरी दीदी कि तुझे काल में मीडिया में दे दूंगी, तुझे ऐसे हैरान कर दूंगी, डर के मैंने फिर मीडिया को बता दिया कि मैं ऐसे रिलेशनशिप में है करके।
Her family claims her relationship will never be accepted and that she is being misled by her lover.
तो जो डिसीजन लिया है वो खुद का नहीं है, उसको प्रेशराइज किया गया है, उसको इमोशनल ब्लैकमेल किया गया है, वो लड़की के तरफ से और लड़की का फैमिली तरफ से दुती और लड़की को मोहरा बनाकर उसका जो नाम जो प्रॉपर्टी है, जो पैसा है, वो हड़प करने का एक परिकल्पित एक षड्यंत्र है।
It may be possible in society and in the point of law, but I could not appreciate because our villagers would not like this matter.
While her relationship is being shunned by her own family back home, she is being hailed across the world for being openly gay. Talk show host, comedian and advocate for gay rights Ellen DeGeneres has said that she is proud of Dutee. Dutee's relationship status has once again reopened the LGBTQ debate. While India has decriminalised homosexuality, should India now legalize gay marriage? Let's debate.
I know there's an election on and everybody's talking about what's going to happen tomorrow, but we must take a break from all of that to talk about some of the real issues we're facing in our country. If the fastest woman in the country needs to stand up to her own family for being blackmailed, simply for loving the person she wants to love, then there has to be a larger conversation we have about this. Same-sex couples face all kinds of challenges and discrimination when they attempt to rent a home, at work, and sometimes among their own families. India needs to inch closer and closer towards legalizing same-sex marriage. But in the meantime, we need to open our minds and our hearts to the people who now use their Supreme Court-given right to love whomsoever they might choose to love. In the studio with me, Dr. Prasad Dandekar is the head of radiation oncology at the Reliance Foundation Hospital and also proud and gay. Harish Iyer is a social activist. Joining us from Delhi, Keshav Suri, the executive director of Lalit Suri Hospitality, and his partner Cyril, who have a brilliant story to share with us. Rakesh Sharma joins us in the studio with his daughter Rhea Sharma and her partner Sanjana Sawant. Ankit and his partner Deb Sanyal join us as well, and I'm so happy to have so many couples on the show because these are role models for people watching at home who will realize that it's, this is not something to hide. You can come out, you can be proud, you can talk about it. And I do want to start this conversation with Keshav Suri and Cyril. Good evening, Keshav. Thank you for joining us. And I am going to also share photographs of your wedding and the numerous receptions you had. But it's amazing for all of the people at home and for all of the young people watching to see an example of a out and proud couple who've gotten married. Now, a lot of same-sex couples in India don't have that, that luxury. And I want to understand from you how you got to that point, what you were thinking, what message you want to send out through this wedding, and the challenges that you believe same-sex couples are facing right now in India.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much, Faye, for having us.
Hi, Faye.
Hi, Cyril. Good evening.
Nice to see everyone, through a camera.
Good evening.
Oh wow. Okay, so can I start, sir, or would you like to go first?
Feel free to start.
He's a polite husband.
One of the reasons why we really wanted to get married was because we are lucky. You are absolutely right. We're lucky. My husband is French. It is legal in France for us to be a couple, for us to be married. And what happened was that when France was going into its last election, there was this conversation that Marine Le Pen and the extreme right might come into power, and they're going to reverse pretty much all the legalities given to a gay couple or a queer couple. And Cyril and I were like, oh my God, we're going to be propelled back into the dark ages. And before that happens, let's get married. We've been together for 10 years, and we just thought that, you know what, if we don't do it now, we're not going to probably do it, right?
Yes, absolutely. Yes, to answer the question, the first reason why we did it because we love each other and because we have a life project together. So, of course, to be married is a very solid foundation to build a future. But secondly, of course, there's also something that we are very happy and proud to claim it and to show to other people that you can do it. And yes, I'm French, so in my country it's possible. But even for people of my country, I mean, if it can inspire them to do it, not everybody is jumping there. So yeah, I'm very happy to somehow.
Yeah, and then after that, it was important for us to do the various receptions, as we joke. Faye, thank you for that. The numerous receptions that we did. No, we had to because when we got married in June in Paris, my mother and I had this emotional breakdown at the reception, and she was just like, you know what, I have 4 children. I've got 3 daughters. I've married all those 3 daughters with such gusto and with such pride. I want to do the same for you. I wanted to have that same. I want to do that, and I was like, let's do it. Let's have the many receptions. Let's dress in drag and also dance together.
And we had 75 of them.
No, but I think it's beautiful, and congratulations to both of you for your let's call it now the wedding year, because the wedding lasted an entire year. But I think it's beautiful because it sets an example for a lot of people watching at home who realize that this is possible. And that brings us to the slightly more serious part of the conversation. Harish and Dr. Danikar are here. Harish, I'm sure you've spoken to a lot of same-sex couples who have trouble within their own families, with acceptance within their own families. And this is in urban India, in families that would seem progressive on all other counts except for this. Tell us some stories of what people are struggling with right now.
There are families who would not accept. There are times when forget acceptance. There is, if it's a lesbian who comes out and says that I'm in love with someone, they would say that, oh, you have not experienced with a boy, so let's get you raped. So there is something like that is prevalent in this country, and not just this country, it's prevalent everywhere, where you have families who force you to get married, families who try and hitch you up with people and try and tell you that, oh, you need to have the experience before you do that. If it's a male person, then you just get married to somebody. You're just forced to get married to somebody, and there's some melodramatic drama that happens at home, that someone gets a heart attack or something of that kind, and then you get married to someone, and then the girl's life
is also ruined.
Yeah, is also ruined, and this guy's life is also ruined, and the girl's life more than the guy's life, because then there's always this, then the next ask is, what about the child? So it kind of sets a spiral on the downward journey, where one after the other. Just because someone didn't stand up, or someone couldn't stand up for themselves, or their families couldn't accept them, it just goes on a downward spiral.
And you believe that when the couples in question are girls, that the discrimination is that much harsher from parents?
Of course, because from a patriarchal point of view, I mean, to be a woman to come out and say that I'm a lesbian. And that's why what Dutee has done is so
amazing.
remarkable, because otherwise it's still a cis male world that we are living in. So it becomes even more difficult, and that's why it's extremely remarkable. I mean, she's my hero.
But she's made us all very proud, and the reason why, you know, I'm so proud to have Rakesh Sharma, his daughter Rhea, and her partner Sanjana in the studio with us, because again, I love stories that involve parents. Parents have such a massive role to play, and I'll start with Rakesh. Rakesh, you're with your daughter and her partner. You're obviously very proud of her, and that makes me very proud to have you in the studio. But did a lot of people ask you questions? What was it like when Rhea came out to you, to your family, to your extended family? And you're part of Sweekar, I also understand. You help other parents as well.
Yes, I've been a part of Sweekar since the last 6 months. Yeah.
So tell us what that was like. Share it with the parents at home.
Oh, yeah. So you're asking me how was it like joining Sweekar, right?
No,
Okay.
what was it like when Rhea came out to you?
Oh, yeah. So I think Rhea came out when she was in her 11th.
Okay.
You know, she was 16 years old at that time. And I remember the day she just, it was an evening, she just came and she started crying. And though I had a little bit of an inclination regarding her, you know, because when we used to go out and when we used to go shopping, you know, she used to generally go. So, for example, if you used to go and buy you know, shoes, she used to generally, for her, she used to prefer going to the male section and buying shoes from there. So I did have a little bit of an inclination, but I wasn't very sure. And so when she came out, it was like she was crying and crying. And you know, I just asked her. I said, Rhea, what's wrong with you? Why are you crying? She said, Dad, I just wanted to tell you, I am lesbian. You know, my response was, Rhea, so what? I mean, even if you are a lesbian, you know, it doesn't make any difference to me. You're still my daughter, and I still love you the same. You know, and I was fortunate. You know, my wife also had a similar response. And so yeah, that was, you know, and I mean, I would like to you know, definitely say that I'm an out and proud parent of Rhea, and she's really made me proud.
Was it difficult to explain to extended family?
I think I'm fortunate that I have a very progressive family. I mean, though it's out of context, but let me tell you that my sister, you know, who's like 12 years elder to me, she got married to a Muslim, and she got married to a Muslim with, you know, with what should I say, with permission, or with, you know, with the entire family being a part of, you know, her marriage. And so therefore, fortunately, I have a very progressive family, and having joined Sweekar, I do see that there are a lot of parents who are, you know, who are less fortunate than me. For me, you know, my extended family is my elder sister. And when I came out to her, you know, she was a little, because she didn't really understand what lesbian is, what gay is, or she might have, you know, heard. She just asked me, Rhea, you know, Rakesh, is Rhea sure about it? You know, that was the only thing I think she asked. But then, you know, since she doesn't have a daughter, she has 2 sons. She is very, you know, she considers her to be her daughter. And I think she accepted her open-heartedly.
At what point did you meet Sanjana? What was that like?
Oh, that's a question to me or to Rhea?
To
me.
First.
At what point did I meet Sanjana?
Yes.
When did I meet Sanjana? I think I met Sanjana. I knew that Rhea was dating Sanjana since a long time. So she was very open to us. So after she came out to me, you know, she did, I think almost immediately she said that she has, you know, she's dating Sanjana. And, but yes, I think she got me introduced to Sanjana almost a year and a half back. Almost a year and a half back. And I think, you know, so now it's like, half of the week Rhea and Sanjana are, you know, at our place, and half of the week Rhea and Sanjana are at Sanjana's place. And, you know, so life's good.
So where did you guys meet? Tell us your story.
We met over Instagram, fortunately. And, after that, we used to meet quite often, but we weren't sure if, you know, it will work out for us, because I was a very open person and I have had faced ragging in college, and I was in a very pathetic and a very consuming relationship, and I really wanted to get out of it. So we weren't sure if it was going to work out, because I had lost faith in the society and myself, because I thought that, you know, I could never really get a partner who would really support who I am and would really support the relationships, because usually people get out of it when they see difficulties, and I didn't really want that. But since 2.5 years, it has been great, and it has been life-changing. So,
Sanjana, tell us about the ragging. Rhea mentioned that there was ragging in college.
Yeah, so generally in our society, so what people prefer is you should have a boyfriend. And when I came out to my friends, like I have a girlfriend, few of them were super cool with it, but then most of them were really confused, and the questions were, are you sure about it? And I said, yeah. After that, up to a certain point, we did face ragging when people were asking that, okay, you will part in a very soon time, or this won't last forever. And back then, even the law 377 was criminalized,
yes.
Maybe because of that. But then later on, after a certain point of time, the difficulties started to reduce, and people started understanding that, okay, this is going to work and this is normal according to their language. And now it's fine.
Is it more difficult for women in same-sex relationships than for men?
As Harish said that, how do you know, you haven't tried it with guys? So that is, of course, that is the statement every girl has to face. But at moments it is difficult, but again, eventually people do understand.
I think a lot of times I've faced questions like, when you get children, who would be the father, who would be the mother? And there's a question about what fathers can do and what mothers can do, and what women are supposed to do as in a relationship. What would a wife do? And mostly people have their constricts about their roles and the stereotyped acceptable.
Do a lot of people treat this like this is a phase, like you'll grow out of it?
Completely.
Yes.
When I was a bit boyish, people thought that, I was a tomboy, and eventually I would turn out to be a typical wife with salwar kurtas and saris and all of it. But no, it's still the same, and I'm enjoying my boyish self.
It's a long phase.
It's a very long phase. I think it will last forever.
The last your whole life.
Sadly, it will last
we also have Deb and Ankit with us, and we understand that Deb and Ankit, who join us right now out of Thane because it's so far away, Deb and Ankit just got engaged. Congratulations. So tell us your story.
We got engaged like a year back, Faye.
Oh, okay, all right. Sorry, it's a year back, but should we take the congratulations back then? Tell us your story. When did you guys meet? And tell us what challenges you believe same-sex couples face in India, in society, even if you have open parents who might welcome you with open arms.
All right, I think so. Let Ankit speak about this. Okay, so we met. I met Ankit while he was. I met Ankit at his workplace. Actually, my office was looking for a co-working space, and that is how we bumped into each other. Then after a couple of months, we saw each other on Facebook, and then we started chatting with each other, and that's how everything started. One thing led to another, and then we fell head over heels for each other. When it comes to problems that same-sex couples have, I think so soon after that we started dating, we moved in, and at that time, as I was hearing before, that Section 377 was still there. So that was like this constant fear that my neighbors would just barge inside my house and infringe my privacy, and that used to always be there. Though we had come out to my landlord back then, and my landlord was completely okay with it. But then, there was this constant paranoia of people just interfering in your life. And yeah, that is something that we faced a lot. Apart from that, again, yeah, the gender roles. I mean, who's the wife in the relationship, or who's the husband, and then who will be fathers if you decide to adopt children, you know, all of those questions, they were there, thrown at us.
And recently itself, on Dev's birthday, there's an incident which happened. We were in a club partying, and we were dancing. We were having a close dance, and so at the end, the bartender just handed over us the check. He said, "So this is your check." We didn't ask for it, and I'm for sure like people are getting very paranoid because of we closely dancing with each other. I mean, like, that's the thing. We don't have safe space around, and people judging us just because I can't completely be with him as I want to be in social gatherings and in public places. But that's wrong, right? If a couple can walk hand in hand, can hug each other, why should we get eye rolls when we hug each other or we are dancing closely with each other? So that is there, and I don't know how much time will it take to take it out from the society and make them know that this is what we are.
Ankit, you know, there are a lot of things that heterosexual couples take for granted. Like you said, holding hands in public, for example, a peck on the cheek or an arm around your shoulder, dancing close, or sitting, you're having a romantic dinner together in public. Where a normal heterosexual couple won't even think that this is special, or you know, you won't look over your shoulder in any way. We take it for granted in a lot of cases. But I want to understand, I mean, you said you got engaged a year ago. India doesn't recognize, legally at least, you know, same-sex marriages. How difficult is that for you emotionally to know that you're engaged, but in order to get married, you have to perhaps go overseas, and even when you do in India, it won't be recognized?
It's really very difficult. Firstly, I mean, going out, getting married, a financial burden. I'm not financially stable right now. What we together can do are doing for our family and for us. And that is also a big thing, getting married. So in India, if it would have been a facility available, it would have been so easy. I don't have to look out for options outside. And plus, it is a very big toll on us. Like,
yeah, I think we've had this discussion so many times about what we are going to do. Our parents actually have sat across the hall and discussed what are our future plans and when do we decide to settle down. Now, the biggest issue over there is that we just can't do it. Now, if we were living with our parents, I think so our lives would have been much more miserable, but the fact that we're living together kind of eases the whole thing out. But yeah, you really want that you really want that sense of settlement, that you know that you want to be together and you want to be committed and you want to be living with each other and you know, have plans and make plans. I mean, we still can't take health insurance on each other. We both can't take home loans together. There are so many things. As you were saying, heterosexual couples just get it, and for us, thinking about it itself is a privilege. You know, having conversations like these itself is a privilege, where we can say that, you know, you get it so easy, but we have been discussing and talking and probably like shouting on the top of our lungs so that you hear us out. But it just does not happen.
That's true. And you know, for every conversation that I have about homosexuality, I always bring in Dr. Dandekar as an example. Nice Maharashtrian doctor, out and proud for all the families watching at home, to point out that it is possible to be successful and well-adjusted tax-paying citizen of India and be gay. It's not the end of your life in any way. So parents who freak out when their kids come up to them, remember Dr. Dandekar.
No pressure.
No pressure. No, but I do want to ask you this. There is also an entire legal point of view, right? Even if you're, and while India recognizes live-in relationships, when you're not married or when you're not allowed to be married, like is the case, you know, for Ankit and for Deb, you are not the legal next of kin of your loved one. If your loved one were in hospital, you are not legally allowed to be there. All decisions revert back to the person's parents or, you know, family members or siblings. You don't get a say. You are not the heir to property, which happens for heterosexual couples. If someone suddenly passes away, the spouse automatically inherits everything. There's no talking about it. But if you're not allowed to get married, you don't have that ability. You don't have a legal say. You don't have a medical say. There's so many other things that come, you know, that come in the way. So legally also, it's important to perhaps push this point.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, all the points that Ankit mentioned are very relevant, but again, a medical point also is very scary because, you know, I'm an oncologist and I see death all around me all the time. And the fact, you know, many times I think that if something were to happen to me or my partner, I want each of us to be responsible, you know, who pulls the plug. And currently we are not, and that's a scary point. But if you look at it from the point of view of 377, what we got is not freedom. What we got is negative freedom. We were decriminalized. We were not given freedom to be ourselves. We have not received that freedom. And I don't agree with you when you say that we are inching towards freedom. I don't want inching. I want a fast track to equality. I'm not asking special privileges. I don't want to be treated special.
Yes.
I just want to be treated as equal. I want simply a right to marry my partner. We have been together for 15 years. And we've gone through so much.
So answer the question for me. There will be a lot of people at home who think, why can't you just live together and be happy? Why do you need to get married? What is your answer to that question?
We don't want to get married to be happy. We are already very happy. We just want to have equal rights so that, as you rightly mentioned, the legal matters or any insurance matters or, you know, all of that comes around with marriage. We just simply want those rights. So we are not asking for anything special. Like, you know, why should we not have the right to marry? What is the, you know, logic?
Actually, you know,
that?
that's a brilliant point, because why do we ask that homosexual couples justify the need to get married? It should be a why not a why.
You
shouldn't have to give you reasons why.
Yes. You tell me why not?
Why not?
So, for example, now the big debate happening in US is about the abortion law.
Yes.
Right? Do you have the right on your own body? And you look at the countries like US who are going back, and country like ours who's very progressive. We already have very robust abortion laws.
Yes.
Why can't we take that one step ahead and say we are extending the right of equality for everyone?
Yes.
You know, just get us. I was telling Keshav yesterday, I was chatting with him. I said, Keshav, meri shaadi kara de abhi, tumhari to ho gayi.
Well, there will be, when same-sex marriage is legalized, it will be a massive industry of same-sex weddings, let me tell you. It will be the most flamboyant weddings in the market.
Absolutely. People will earn so much money for that.
Absolutely.
You wanted to add something.
Exactly. Look at the kind of businesses
One of the most
we start.
lucrative businesses.
Your husband is rolling his eyes. Okay, so he's rolling his eyes at you. Go on.
The point I wanted to make is now even in this stage, okay, you have Keshav, who there are employers who are working extra hard to ensure that the benefits are given to same-sex couples.
Yes.
Like you have Godrej, you have the Lalit Hotel, you have these companies which are like Godrej is an Indian company.
Yes.
You know, so you have companies who are walking the tightrope and ensuring that same-sex couples and they're doing the job that actually the state should be doing.
Yes.
You know, where each one is treated equal, everyone is treated equal.
Yes.
Every union is treated equal.
So actually, you know, I want to understand that, and the reason, you know, I'm pointing this out again. The reason why we're having this conversation, and I like to smuggle these conversations into prime time, okay, where people come to the channel looking for news, but we'll actually have a completely different conversation. So you don't have a choice; you have to watch. Is because I want heterosexual couples and families to be able to empathize, to understand the challenges, and unless someone spells it out, like you have just now, it's very, it's difficult to empathize. Keshav, when you say, you know, sharing rights to spouses as an employer, because a lot of times, for example, you will have your employer or your workplace say, bring your spouse to work, or bring your spouse to the picnic, or bring your +1 or your significant other. You know, when you have benefits like PF, for example, a heterosexual couple, if something were to happen to you, your PF automatically goes to your spouse. It doesn't happen if you are a homosexual couple or a same-sex couple. Okay, so tell us the challenges that exist right now in our legal and our tax systems that are not equal.
It does happen in my company at the Lalituri Hospitality Group. We worked really hard with the insurance brokers and the insurance firms, and I was like, listen, tomorrow if I'm getting, it's one of the reasons what Cyril and I also discussed. You know, both of us live in India. We've adopted India as our country. Yet I have more rights in France than I do in India, than he does in India. He lives here, he works here, he has his own company here. And so I was like, okay, what can at least the private players do especially changes in my company? And one of the things was that I worked with insurance companies to at least extend the same benefits to same-sex couples. Also work on, sexual reassignment surgery to ensure that, I mean, even the Nalsa judgment happened in 2014, but a lot did not change when it came to companies. A lot did not change when it came to policies. Where I agree with Dr. Prasad when he's talking about the fact that we've got decriminalization, but it's like maybe we need to really move fast to get basic equality when it comes to healthcare, when it comes to insurance, because honestly, okay, Cyril and I come from a place of privilege where, where we're going and he can come to the hospital, but if not, actually, it's not recognized here. If he does fall sick or I fall sick, he's really not, we're not recognized. We're recognized in France. Not recognized.
So hang on. So tell me this.
I do urge companies like
when you say you have more rights as a spouse in France than Cyril has as his spouse in India. What is the difference? Tell me the rights we're missing right now in India.
Yeah.
Well, I can start with the visa to start with.
Yeah.
The first thing, myself, I'm on a business visa when Keshav in France is in a family visa.
Yeah.
So Keshav for Schengen is part of the family, and me, I have to apply for my visa in India as a businessman and not at all as the husband of Keshav.
Wow,
that's one
to start with. It's quite a big.
Yes, it's a big word. Yes.
That's already a basic when it comes to visa. He's not recognized as my husband as per the visa, rules in India. And then there are other things on inheritance. There are other things on, on also issues on insurance. Now, I again have really pushed our insurance. So we've managed to get a Mediclaim insurance, personal and professional, via my company. Not everyone has that option. So I urge at least companies to be able to take those certain, especially Indian companies, to take certain decisions so that tomorrow, everyone has at least somewhat of a privilege that we share. But in France, however, I get insurance, I get public insurance. If I want to become a French citizen, I just have to basically wait it out for a year, and it's a socialist country. So pretty much all the rights that Cyril enjoys in France, I'll be able to enjoy if I want to.
As his spouse, and that's something we don't recognize in India. Here's an important question. Carol has written to us saying, can a gay couple or a homosexual couple adopt a child in India? No, they can't.
So the challenge is the CARA guidelines. If you look at the CARA guidelines, which is
a challenge.
Yes. Go ahead, Harish. Go ahead. Yeah.
If you look at the CARA guidelines, if you're a man, you can't adopt a girl child.
Girl, yes.
And if they would find out, because they would look at the family structure and all those things, if they find out that you're a gay man, then you can't adopt a male child. So that's the whole.
So effectively, you can't adopt.
So effectively, you can't adopt.
So basically, we adopt cats and dogs.
Yeah. So I'm the father of a cat and a dog.
Yeah. We have three. Yeah, we're fathers, proud queer fathers of 3 dogs.
3 dogs.
but that's actually terrible, because you could, and the CARA guidelines in India are very strict. They're, for all couples, for anyone who's adopting, the system is very tough. And so you have a system to make sure that the family that's adopting or the couple that's adopting is, tax-paying, law-abiding, mentally sound, physically sound people. What you're doing effectively is denying a home to a child who could use or who could need a loving home.
There's enough research in the US. I mean, there's very little research that's been done in India. In the US, saying that queer couples are are sometimes better parents than straight couples. Or I wouldn't even buy them saying that we are better people. We are just the same kind of parents as everyone else.
Yes. So actually, I'm going to turn this up a little bit and ask tougher questions of the doctor to begin with. There is a general idea that same-sex couples are frivolous, that they don't stay with each other really, that that monogamy is not something that they follow, that they tend to be, more to have open relationships. And you said that you've been in a relationship now for 15 years. What is your response to that idea of the fact that, tum log to waise bhi,
My question is, I am not asking you what you do with your wife in your bedroom. Why are you asking me? Who gave you right to ask me, how should I define my relationship? It is my relationship. If you look at a heterosexual relationship, at one end, you would have an extremely misogynist husband who's beating up his wife, and at the other extreme you may have extremely nice couple living together. You're not asking them questions. Why are you living like this? Why are you living like this? Who gave you the right to ask me how I should define my relationship? I am in a relationship with another human being. It is my basic right. It is my basic human right to have a loving relationship with another individual. Nobody has a right to ask about, how I should define it. Should it be like, why should anybody else define societal norms of how should my relationship be? I mean, then we would be living in tyranny where the state would define that relationship needs to be like this.
And this is really important to share at this point. People think it's okay to be curious about your relationships. Ki samjhao na kaise hota hai. That curiosity and those questions are offensive, aren't they?
Absolutely.
Are we general agreement that people should not ask those questions?
And I've asked some of the people who ask me these questions, I ask the same question back to them. And you should look at their horror. People ask me, so who's the wife and who's the husband? I said, what do you do? Tell me about it. And they're like, oh, how can you ask that question? I said, that's hypocrisy.
I'm just going to say something that's quite controversial, but I just think that monogamy is overrated.
I'm required to remind you. But go on.
It is. It's so overrated. My God.
But go on. If you could, you can't curse, you can't swear, but go on.
So basically, monogamy is overrated.
So, I think
that monogamy is overrated.
I totally agree to you.
It is so boring. It is 2002. It's done. It's dusted.
It's for another show. This is not the right show for that.
That is true. We are making a case for the monogamy right now. Don't set us back. You're defeating your own purpose at this point.
The point that I'm making is, it's for the couple to decide what's okay with the relationship. It's for the couple to decide.
I think if we were to actually boil this down to just one idea, it is this. We do not insist on heterosexual couples to follow. They can choose to be monogamous, they can choose not to be, they can choose to cheat on their spouses, they can choose not to, they can choose to be loving, they can choose not to be loving, they can choose to live alone and live as a couple or live as a family. That is a freedom and a right that is allowed to everybody in this country. We should not have to force anyone to justify their point to enjoy the same freedoms at the end of the day. So I suppose whenever someone does ask all of these questions, the simple answer is, I shouldn't have to answer these questions.
True.
It's completely okay. But Mr. Sharma, I do want to ask you this. Do you worry about the girls? Because you might be okay with it, but they are going to, and they're young. They are going to go out into a big bad world that might not be as open-minded as you
are. Yes, I worry about them. It's just that the intensity of worry, it has come down partly because of 377 being struck down. So when they came out, it was before the 377 was struck down. And yes, while as a family we had accepted her, but I did have this thought always in my mind, where because Rhea had a typical so she used to keep very typical hairstyles and her sense of dressing. So it was she was very obvious. I mean, it was very overt. That she so people could make out that she's lesbian or she's homosexual, and it did used to worry us a lot initially, me as well as my wife, and we used to really and we used to ask her that it's okay for you to have the kind of relationship that you want to have, but is it but be keep yourself safe. Don't be, so as I was mentioning that, yes, I mean, gradually, I think that the intensity of worry has come down.
So what's your dad advice to the girls? I love dad advice. What's your dad? What would you tell them? Because there would be others watching right now who would also find that useful.
So my advice to all the parents is that you are fortunate. There are, we have a doctor here, and I myself actually, have a genetic lab, and we see that there are so many infertile couples in the country. I mean, you should be fortunate you have a child, and it doesn't really matter, whether your child is I mean, as we said that, when heterosexual couples live the life of their choice, it's their, it's a choice. I mean, even when it comes to marriage, I've told Rhea many times that, it's completely your choice whether you would want to get married, whether you would want to, have a, stay in a live-in relationship, or you would not want to get married. So my advice to Rhea and Sanjana, as well as my advice to all the parents who are watching over here, is that, you're all proud parents, and support your children. I mean, because yes, I feel that the queer community is actually a lonely community, for whatever they have, and I think the least that we can do as parents is to stand by them.
Yes.
So
there is this other. Keshav has mentioned insurance a couple of times. So have the other panelists, and I just want to spell this out. So normally, what happens when you go out and take a life insurance policy, which everyone does once you have people who depend on you, you get a life insurance policy, which basically says that if something were to happen to me today, there would be a certain amount of money that would be paid to my family, so they can pay off their loans and they can continue to live with the same quality of life as they do right now while my salary is coming in. It is a given for heterosexual couples that your spouse can easily be your nominee and who will receive the money from your life insurance policy. It is not a given for homosexual couples. The insurance company will just not accept it. They will only give you either your parents or a heterosexual spouse. And that's really terribly, terribly unfair. And that's something that we actually need to consider and think about. Ankit and Deb, I want to understand, you said you don't live with your parents right now. Was it difficult to find an apartment? Did you have to explain yourself to the landlord, or did you pretend to be roommates?
It was.
Bachelors.
It was.
Yeah,
it
bachelors,
was.
that's what we call it, yes.
No. So we, So firstly, it's a pain getting an apartment if you're a bachelor. For some reason, bachelors are seen as drug addicts or alcoholics. So we have the first hurdle there, and then think about the fact that we are gay as well. So this time when we were taking this apartment, we recently shifted in January. So the first thing, so we discussed about everything about the house and the rent and everything. And then at the end of the conversation, I wanted to ask the landlord. So I said that, is your house queer friendly? For some reason, he didn't understand what queer was. So he said that, there was an incident where this person had too much alcohol and was roaming around downstairs, and then people had an issue, and this is something that will not be accepted here. And Ankit got really impatient. He's like, listen, Deb and I are engaged. We are together and our parents know about it. Are you okay with that? and for some, we were surprised that he said that whatever you do inside the house is your decision. It's okay. I'm not going to question you that. And then we decided that whatever happens, we're just taking this house. We were
That's actually a beautiful story. I have a couple of questions to answer, and I want to quickly get through them before we run out of time. Suvadeep, they has said, what do medical claims have to do with personal sexual orientation? That's private. Why are the two of them connected? Do you want to answer that question?
Yeah, of course. Suppose if you are admitted in the hospital and, unfortunately you die, and or you're dying, or you're on a ventilator, and your doctor tells you, tells your wife that this is a hopeless situation. Would you want your husband to live like a vegetable for like 2 years or 3 years, or would you be kind to him and you would like to pull the plug? Especially if you have told her that I don't want to live like this. Your wife has a legal authority to do it.
Yes.
While my partner...
Actually, in a different thing, assume that one of us was in an accident and needed emergency surgery. You need a family member to consent. And your spouse can't.
Yeah, my spouse can't. Yes. So even if I need an emergency surgery where if you don't do the surgery, I'll just die, my partner cannot sign it because he is just legally not,
And your partner is also not entitled to information about what's happening to you.
No, the unfortunate thing is I'm a doctor and I do this. I can't give information. If, I have had gay couples coming in and it's very weird. I can't do it. I'm a gay man with my partner and another gay couple comes to me and I said, sorry, but legally this is not possible. It is so frustrating. I can't tell you, and it is just heartbreaking.
Because you can spend 30 years together, but you'll never be next of kin.
You're just not next of kin. It's just terrible.
That's heartbreaking. Keshav, we have another question from one of our viewers who said, Aman Singh says, do queer people face discrimination at the workplace? And I'm asking you this question because you've created a workplace where there is no discrimination, but there was the problem that needed to be solved to begin with. Could you tell us what that problem was?
So, Faye, I'm hoping that there is no discrimination, but I wouldn't be able to say that in all my hotels, all across the group, that there is absolutely zero discrimination. Because I think, as human beings, we come with a lot of biases. And I would like people to have biases because then that's the only way you can actually cure the biases. If somebody came with no biases or no internal biases, then we're all robos, right? So what we did very smartly was that because a lot of change happens in corporate India top down, I made it a point that I talk about my sexuality. I made it a point that I go to each and every one of my hotels, talk about inclusion, talk about why we're doing the Mediclaim insurance. By the way, it's not just about Mediclaim insurance for, okay, fine, when you need forms of consent, but it's also coverage. We cover Mediclaim for partners. It's just coverage that a company does also to cover the same-sex partner. So more importantly, then I went to each hotel to also say that, no, there has to be some affirmative action. Because we haven't even reached the point of meritocracy yet. Yeah. When we can judge people by how much, when this community has been completely sidelined for so many years, when we're just barely told that we're no longer criminals or we can't go to jail because of our sexuality. We're not told anything beyond that. There is a lot of, inherent bias against this community because we've been conditioned to be thinking in a certain way about the community. And I'm hoping that at least in my workplace, we're trying to at least reduce that. It's very important for having visibility.
Right. I also want to ask Cyril a very quick question, if I may. Cyril, you have an outsider's point of view on what goes on in this country because you've experienced life as a gay person overseas and you experience life as a gay person in India because you now reside in India with your husband. How bad is the discrimination and the everyday, on the street, regular discrimination? How bad is it? What have you noticed about India?
I don't know, Faye. I think I've been spared that a lot. I would say I had more discrimination in France than in India, in fact.
Well, that's good news.
So maybe they spare me because I'm French, but... Yeah, I would say it's really amazing. In my company, I'm running this company, Chronoca, with my team. None of them has reacted weirdly, or they're all very supporting. Everybody, I really had the support of everyone. No discrimination, no, ever. In fact, I had more in France. Yes, where you can walk in the street and you can have some people abusing you, or you can have you pass an exam with a teacher who is obviously homophobic, so bing, suddenly you have a D or E just because you're gay. You can have those kind of things, but in India, I never had any issue, in fact.
What about the discrimination you give me on a daily basis?
Oh, you had it coming.
Divorce. That's another reason why I want to fight for this, is because I want a divorce. I also want alimony. I also should have the right
You
to
are
have
again
husband number
defeating your own
2, 3,
purpose.
4, 5. So
At
I'm
this
with
point.
you, Dr. Prasad.
But very quickly, Harish, you've dealt with people who, and this is important, you know, while the people on the panel have come in with good humor and they're laughing about it, let me tell you, it is far more dangerous than what it seems. It's not harmless bullying, and because bullying is never harmless, and you know, mild discrimination, it then sends the people we are talking about into serious mental health issues. They get depressed, they question their existence, especially when families turn them away. We have a very high rate of suicide. We haven't studied it also, in fact, in our country enough, but you tell me that the suicide rate is higher.
The suicide rate is higher. The rates of non-acceptance is really high. The rates of extortion of gay men, you know, wherein people
and women, as we've seen with Dutee Chand.
And women as well.
Yes.
Yeah, the extortion where people would say that I'm going to reveal your sexuality to people. So the law has simply changed and just acknowledged our existence and has made us legal to have relationships. That's what the law has done. Still, there is a lot of work that needs to be done. The conversation should be on, and the rights for minorities will take a long time to be achieved, and we will have to be at it.
Yes.
And because there still would be some gay boy in some corner, some gay girl in some corner who'd be watching this show and would be looking at us with a lot of hope. But this is not. This is where you will achieve too. You will reach too. But yes, this is not the overall reality of the whole India.
Well, I'm going to leave it here. But like we do on Mirror Now, we spend a lot of time talking about.
Can I?
Yes. Unfortunately, we've run out of time. We will spend a lot more time talking about the rights of those with whatever sexual orientation they may choose to have, or whatever sexual orientation they were born with. It's none of our business, but the rights are, because this is an equal country. Remember, in the judgment 377, the Supreme Court very clearly put instructions on that no one is to be discriminated against based on their sexual orientation. Now that remains on paper, because for as long as we don't have rules in our workplaces that are anti-discriminatory when it comes to sexual orientation, as long as we don't change the laws of inheritance, of adoption, of marriage, and of insurance, of all of these things, we continue to discriminate as a society. And as we have seen, as far as social improvement and reform is concerned in our country, the law has always led the way. There will be a new government starting tomorrow. And on Mirror Now, we will continue to request, to ask politely, and then to demand that new government write out these new laws that ensure that no one in our country is discriminated against. Thanks for watching.